What is going on, everybody? Thank you so much for being here at Echo Base Network today. Man, look at this title. Star Wars is honoring George Lucas by moving on from George Lucas. Sounds kind of perplexing, doesn't it? We're going to get into this article, and I definitely want to discuss this with you. The latest news dealing with George Lucas was actually from our friend Star Wars Theory, who posted a video the other day. And he basically said, actually, it's word for word right here. This is Star Wars Theory, the biggest Star Wars content creator in the world. He says, I know people who know George Lucas, and they say he's not too happy with the stuff that's been kind of like the sequel trilogy. So George Lucas, apparently, according to Star Wars Theory, is not happy with it. And then this article comes out today. Star Wars is honoring George Lucas by moving on from George Lucas. That is a very interesting thought. Let's get into this article and see exactly what is being said. And I got my own little take here, and I want to know yours as well. Here we go.
Echo 3 to Echo 7. Mono, buddy. 3
Echo Station 3TA.
So again, everybody, this article is coming to us from Screenrant. These are their words and not mine, even though I will definitely stop and interject. There might even be some things that I just have trouble saying, So here we go. George Lucas created Star Wars and defined what makes the episodic films so special. But now the franchise is honoring its legacy by moving beyond his vision. Most of the Disney Star Wars movies took the opposite approach by going out of their way to mimic Lucas's style, especially in regard to the original trilogy. Well, let me just stop right there. I totally disagree. If Lucasfilm under Disney wanted to honor George Lucas with the sequel trilogy, they would have used his stories and his outlines. The ones that he thought that he sold them, the ones that he thought they were going to do. And then it's all been well documented. They pulled the carpet out from under him. So anyways, the story continues. Even the Star Wars TV shows largely focused on either recapturing the magic of Lucas's style or building off of his projects. There's nothing wrong with honoring Lucas's canon and having it form the foundation of Star Wars. But if the franchise is to continue growing, then it must evolve beyond simply recreating his vision. Well, that's something that I semi-agree with. They're going to have to move on from George Lucas because George Lucas doesn't want to be involved with what they're doing. So yes, Star Wars has to move on. They have no choice. They've shown that they're incapable of recreating what George Lucas has made. If the writer of this article thinks that Star Wars has been recapturing George Lucas, he's wrong, because they haven't. Now, maybe they attempted to, and it was an absolute and total failure. The article continues. Thankfully, Star Wars is all set to do just that over the next few years. A few Disney Star Wars projects have already demonstrated how to tell new stories through a fresh style, notably through Andor's gritty storytelling that doesn't rely on fan service. Star Wars Visions took it a step further by giving different animation studios the freedom to tell their own unique Star Wars stories that weren't constrained by established continuity. Finally, the slate of upcoming Star Wars movies suggests that the franchise will strike a balance between honoring Lucas's vision, and moving forward into a new era. Hey, I'm all for some of those shows. Like, if you love anime, then Star Wars Visions might just be your thing. But considering that it's not canon, it doesn't really hold a lot of weight. And I know there's the whole thing about, we as fans determine what's canon, but when I'm saying the word, I'm basically talking about Lucasfilm's official Star Wars story, which, has not been going very well. I gotta say. The main thing that the article's talking about is the three movies. The James Mangold movie, the Charmin Obaid Chinoy movie, that's Rey coming back, moving beyond anything that Lucas had ever thought about or penned. That's the main thing. And Lucas even talked about the creation of the Jedi. So Mangold's story, set 25,000 years in the past, and it's set to explore the origins of the Jedi Order. That's what they're telling us. Sounds exciting, but Lucas had ideas there regarding the origin of the Jedi. And what's funny, the bookend here, Rey's new Jedi Order movie, Kathleen Kennedy just came out and said, Well, we got to discover whether or not people even want that Jedi around. And she's talking about story elements. She's not talking about fandom there. But it was a very interesting comment. But here's the thing. This article talking about to honor George Lucas, you have to move away from George Lucas. Well, they never got it right in the first place. And that's my main problem. Now, has Disney given us some really good Star Wars? Absolutely they have. Andor was fantastic. I'm sorry, not Andor. Rogue One was fantastic. Andor was good. Andor was good. I'll say it was good. I enjoyed it. But my favorite Star Wars that they've given us is Mandalorian Season 1 and 2. What happened in Season 3? I have absolutely no idea. Thing definitely came off the rails. And that's Disney for you. That's Star Wars for you. You know, they do something good and then they eventually, it's going to turn sour. And that is exactly what has happened. I want to know your guys' thoughts. Is Star Wars honoring George Lucas by getting away from George Lucas? I'm not so sure. It's an interesting thought that Screenrant has, and I'm sure it's going to get them a lot of clicks. And speaking of clicks, I hope that you enjoyed clicking on this video and watching this and me giving my take here. I want to know what you think. Is Star Wars honoring George Lucas by moving away from George Lucas? It's kind of a catch-22 for me. Because the more they try to mimic Lucas, the more it hurts Star Wars and Star Wars fandom. So maybe Star Wars is different under Disney rather than George Lucas. Maybe there are two different versions of Star Wars. My good friend here at the channel, Matt Rissman, our associate producer, likes to say, there's only Star Wars. There's only one Star Wars. Well, I get that argument, but I also see the other side as well. Let me know in the comments what you think. We are, you are, Echo Base Network. May the Force be with you. And I'll see you guys on the next one.